Hej och välkommen till Goa Pojkar borta intetsagande. Jag är din co-host Denali.
Din co-host Ryan.
Jag är Jace.
Hinga dinga durgan.
No, Ryan, you can't do that.
That pushed
Ryan,
it too far.
That's offensive to the Swedes. All right, we're trying to.
Why do we care about the Swedes?
We're trying to reach an olive branch out to another nation and kind of honor their films, and you just kind of shat on it.
I spoke to them
by. What does that mean in Swedish?
It's from SpongeBob.
That's their common greeting. They say it to everybody. That means hail and well met. This week, welcome folks to, this is like GBGB scraps, GBGB freestyle. There's no season, there's no episode, but we watched a movie.
There's an
No number.
Episode.
Casual. We're not putting labels on it. We watched Persona.
Persona.
Yeah, this is like a fling.
This
I'm not
means
seeing
nothing.
this
Us.
episode.
This is us in a seaside cottage,
Yes.
Oh,
staring at each other.
Jace is tilting his head in a strange way, and they are fitting their heads together.
My
like
my
they did
camera is not mirrored.
in Persona. Well, folks, this was Ryan's pick. Ryan, we'll get into why you picked this movie, but I just want to say this is going to be a gold mine. It's going to be a laugh riot today. A lot of riffable material from this movie. So strap in, folks. Get ready for a lot of bits about Ingmar Bergman's 1966 movie Persona. So, Ryan, do you want to explain your
I watched the 1967 one.
Oh, that one was
fuck.
funny.
Oh, Jace, what? That one was boring as hell. Yeah, sometimes you have an idea, and you try to execute this idea, and you kind of have a couple other people who are riding on you to be like, yeah, we'll follow where you're going, buddy. We'll trust you. Then you do it, and you're like, oh no, I'm about to ruin two other people's weekends. So that's kind of in the mental space I'm in.
Yeah, we're like in a cavalry charge, and we gave you command, and we're like, lead us to the city of jokes, like a funny jokes, riffable material with lots of plunder, and then you led us straight off a cliff into like a tar pit where we couldn't escape, and the entire
there was plenty of
cavalry-
information about that. There was a tar pit over there.
There was signs.
There's maps, signs, those little things at like Vista points that give you information about what you're looking at.
It says warning cliff.
Yeah.
100 feet of tar.
The park rangers. And here we are. I did choose this movie, and I chose it on purpose. I hadn't seen it, okay? It wasn't like I had a Wheel of Chaos, is what I mean by I chose it on purpose. I was under the impression, this movie has been on my Letterboxd watch list for a very long time.
Oh,
It's one of the highest rated movies ever on Letterboxd. And many people claim it's one of, if not the best movie ever made. So I was aware of all that. In addition, I knew that it was revolutionary.
Yes.
I thought this was going to be a like surrealist take on the birth of the thriller genre. Okay. I thought there was going to be like espionage and, people lording over other people. And sometimes you swing big and sometimes you miss big. I don't think that this would be a miss for everybody who watches it, but I can just tell from the attitude in the group chat.
No, look.
That this may be a Swedish art house film from 1966 wasn't exactly what this lonely, rain-filled weekend in September needed.
Yeah, Ryan, when you texted us, you were like, my pick is Ingmar Bergman's Persona. It's in the chat, like, I laughed. I, made a joke. I was like, oh, perfect, LOL. And I was, waiting for your real pick where you're going to pick, Transformers 3 or some shit. And then you're like, nope, no, we're going to go for it. And I was like, oh, goddamn. Okay, cool. I'm going to fucking do this. And I remember these movies. People in college would talk about these. I think I told you guys, my roommate Chad in college, he took a class on this shit. He's like, yeah, man, they're fucking wild, dude. They're kind of fucked up. He's like, you might like them if you're in the mood for that shit. And I was like, all right. I think there's a lot of good bits in this movie, right? I wrote actually a couple bits down.
Okay.
To kind of try.
Thank God.
Yeah, to try things out, and maybe you guys can help me form some bits too. throughout this episode.
Okay.
So this is what I got. It's not like the most fertile ground, but I did kind of get some bits out of here.
Should we do a synopsis?
Oh, okay. Do you want to do the synopsis first? We can do the synopsis.
Yeah.
Brian, take
It's Sweden.
Uh-huh.
And there's like a woman, she's an actress, and her name's Elizabeth. It's Elizabeth. And they're just trying to be Swedish and weird.
They don't have the letter H in Sweden, dude.
And she's an actress, and she decides for some reason she's not going to talk anymore. So to keep her company and to kind of check on her mental health, they hire a nurse that does everything for her. And that nurse's name is Alma. Okay?
Alma?
They hang out for like 3 months. And then the movie sort of ends.
Yeah. And there's some sexual tension.
Yeah,
and then
so during those 3 months, they go to a seaside cottage,
WWE.
and just the two of them spend every waking moment together. And the one person doesn't talk, and the nurse talks. And the nurse starts relaying the events of her own life and guessing, I guess, what happened in the actress's life, because the actress isn't talking. And the speaking role contrasted with the non-speaking role kind of comes to a head a couple times throughout the film. No, save your questions till the end. And some weird stuff happens, and there's some
he has to go to the bathroom.
described sex, and then there was about 45 minutes of nothing, and that's the movie. Now, I would like to point out,
Okay.
mercifully, it's an hour and 23 minutes long.
Yes. That would have been like a 3 hour of this. I think would have been a little rough for the boys here.
That would have basically been like The Holiday.
The movie The Holiday. I haven't seen The Holiday.
I hate that movie.
Okay, all right. This has
And
been
people
established.
know that I try to throw shade at The Holiday whenever I can.
Okay,
It's way too
yes.
long. It's not.
Yeah,
it's like
fuck The
the end
Holiday.
game of rom-coms.
Oh, wait, I think I've seen this with Jack Black.
Yeah.
You didn't like that movie with Jude Law? Though that was fun, where they do kind of like
Should have been a
swap.
mini-series there.
I do like The Holiday.
That was a fun movie, right? Like
Yeah.
it was kind of like a subversion.
I don't
and,
find
like,
Jude
kinda
Law very
end.
attractive. So.
Okay, I have a question.
yeah,
I know
okay.
you're gonna dissolve into a bit, but like, doesn't writing a letter like kind of count as communicating? So at the point that she started writing letters to people, they could have been like,
Yeah.
we don't need to be hanging out at this cabin anymore. That the
I was
doctor just
confused.
gave them. The doctor was like, go live in my cabin.
Okay. Well, I think they didn't have the budget for 2 speaking roles. So I think they just had one person not speak
That's fair.
for the movie. When you're an extra in a film, if you only have like I think 1 line or like 2 lines, I don't think you're like SAG eligible or whatever for like legit pay. So this, Vogel,
Do they have this-
Elizabeth Vogel?
I think she's like no.
Do they
I
have
think
the SAG in Sweden? What?
She had
no. I think the other actor, the spokenless one.
yeah.
I think she's like a Swedish A-lister.
Well, they didn't want to pay her the A-list rate because she's a big get. So give her no lines.
Smart.
Save a ton of money.
Tell her it's avant-garde.
Yeah. And just have her write letters the whole movie. It's
Yeah.
fucking genius,
Okay,
dude. It's a
so
money saving
I do want to
scheme.
get into bits,
Yeah.
but also like for the viewers or listeners, like we're gonna spoil parts of this movie when we start
watch it
talking
first.
about beat by beat. That doesn't particularly matter because it's not about what happens during the movie.
It's about how you feel when you see it.
Yes, that's very. I think Jace is joking, but also not joking.
Pretty serious.
This is like how it feels to chew 5 gum, the movie.
Yes,
Like it's like
I can
you're-
describe those commercials to you,
Yeah.
but until you watch it, you're not gonna be like, "Damn, that is how it feels to chew 5 gum."
Yeah, actually, like try describing a 5 gum commercial to somebody, like that where he's okay.
I've
man,
done
like,
this.
straps into a chair.
Within the last 2 months. Because
Right,
Julie
and
had
it-
never seen any of them. And I was like, hey, you know those commercials with like the fans? They're like a bunch of hot air dryers like pointed up and the guy skydives into them. And she's like, what?
yeah,
what
but
it's
then when
like
you
to chew
see them,
cinnamon 5 gum. Honey.
when you fucking see them, when the guy has all those cool fans and it's like gyrating, he's in this giant chamber.
Yeah, the
and his
ball.
goosebumps go up, and you're like, holy shit! Like I felt 5 gum.
The
in that
one with the
moment.
strings. There's like these giant
strings?
cables that are attached to like a surface that they're laying on. And they're vibrating. Boom.
5
the
gum's still
strings.
around?
It is.
5 gum is the most erotic gum, I think. I was like thinking about that the other day. Like 5 gum, it looks like it looks sexy. Like the actual package,
It looks like a
like
vape
condoms.
cartridge.
Or yeah. And then like if someone offers you some 5 gum, there's some kind of tension. Like when you look at like sexy gum offerings, like, you know, extra is like the bottom, right? Like extra doesn't really get you anywhere. Like Trident gum, I think is a little fun, little scoop up. 5 gum.
Oh my God!
Gum.
The flavors are cobalt, rain, flare, lush, elixir, solstice, zing, and react.
Imagine cobalt. Imagine pitching cobalt. Hey, we got this new flavor of gum. We're gonna name it Cobalt.
I think he walked into the room, threw a football at him. He's like, "What's up? I've got a new gum flavor. I learned this word in the dictionary this morning.
Cobalt!
Cobalt!"
It's the first word I read. Zing? I think zing is like that's a statement flavor. Yeah, I agree with, sorry, I threw you off, Ryan, but like, I get what you're saying. Like it's an experience to watch it, right? Like you got to see it.
Go ahead.
To know what we're talking about.
Yeah, go ahead, watch it. Or don't.
You can watch it for free on YouTube. This is
also on Max,
Tell him
yeah.
that. Jace, what about Ingmar Bergman? He's going to fucking lose out.
If that penis is dead, Ingmar Burton's dead too, isn't he? So that was a before recording conversation.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
told
now realizing.
Jace. Yes, Jace. We were talking about the penis in the movie. I told him the penis was dead because it's been so long. Now the audience is caught up.
Was there a penis in the movie?
Yes, Ryan. There was a penis in the movie.
Why did you think I did the joke? You missed.
Jace,
I really don't know.
In the beginning, fucked up scene where there's the kid and the crucifixion and the guy about to poke a lamb's eyeball out, it flashes a dick on the screen for 1/8 of a second.
Yeah.
I must have blinked.
It flashes up a fully erect penis. It might. Did you watch it on Max, Denali?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I watched it on Max.
Okay, so it was on Max.
Yeah.
Fun trivia
It was
fact.
uncut. Yeah.
They got rid of that penis on quite a lot of the showings of this movie.
Really?
I don't blame them. Probably didn't need to be in there.
They fucking Fight Clubbed us, dude. Like, and what's and then Amber, like the 1 second she like looked over was the penis second. Like that's
We
like
had opposite viewing experiences of this movie. Me and Amber should review it.
and she didn't see the rest of the movie. I think like it was like within the first like 30 seconds of the intro, she was like,
Okay, yeah.
well, I think this one's not for me.
I was worried the whole movie was going to be like that.
Yeah, me too. I was like, uh-oh, this is going to be a problem if there's 90 minutes of this. It's like fucking, a guy getting crucified, like a lamb
strangling a lamb.
Jesus Christ,
squeezing
dude,
the blood out of its face.
I was like, is this what it's like to watch a movie in Sweden? Are all their movies like this? Because this is a fucked up country, dude. Like, I know they got all this cool bike lanes and like, you know, universal healthcare and shit, but like if this
Not
is the
worth
cost, it's
Imagine every movie opens like that. They're like, you take them to see the kids movie and like, okay, kids.
Okay, there's
remember,
a spider.
We really want to see the wild robot. We can drive to Finland and watch it there, or
it's like 45 minutes. I'm not going to do that.
Or we can watch it, but remember, we're going to keep our eyes closed for the first couple minutes till mommy taps you on the shoulder.
Yes, it needs to be 6 minutes of the most disturbing snuff film shit you've ever seen in your life. Can you imagine taking a Swedish person from the 60s and just showing them, like, Transformers? Just something that is just, like, so
You mentioned Transformers twice now.
It's a good movie.
I have to ask, have you...
It's a good movie.
Did something spurn this, buddy? Did you see some Transformers right before we got on?
I saw a trailer for Transformers 1 when I saw the Wild Robot in the drive-in. And it looked like a very fun movie. And a lot of the kids were going crazy during the trailer. And it kind of got me hyped for Transformers. So
I saw some Transformers media this morning, too, on TikTok. So I was just wondering.
Ryan, do you like those movies?
No.
Okay. Well, Jace,
I want to make sure you're clear that I did not say I like those movies either. I'm with Ryan.
No, I think. Well, we all like Transformers. I have some Persona bits to, I think, kind of help get our juices going.
Let's liven this thing up because, man,
let's liven it up. Yeah. And I might need you guys to help lift me up a little bit. Maybe you guys have some bits too. Maybe to get the juices going. So the first bit I have, was I was going to kind of do a bit about us actually watching playthroughs of the critically acclaimed racing game Persona for the Xbox.
Okay.
That would have been a bit that we could do. So maybe we can.
I think there's a far more famous game named Persona.
So, I was thinking Persona Persona 3?
Like Persona 4, Persona
remastered?
3, Persona 5, like the
Those all
what are they
racing
called?
games.
There's a Japanese. What's the Japanese name?
It's called Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah.
Did you have that on the back pocket?
What?
No, it's actually a really popular game.
Okay. Okay. So, and
In fact, that's what Julie thought we were going to be watching. She thought there was going to be a film adaptation of the Japanese video game Persona.
From Sweden. They love
She
it.
didn't know it was Swedish.
Oh, okay.
I have another one. More like Ingmar Bergman. And what if there were Borg in this movie? That's another bit that I wrote down.
They could be. Like, you could...
Yeah, what if they're Borgs
They kind
in this
of...
movie? Yeah, that's...
Yeah, they kind of did meld minds.
They did, yeah, like a Borg thing. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Do you guys have any Persona bits that you came up with
No.
to kind of get the yucks going, to kind of help us out with this movie? Because, look, I Googled this movie, and this film, it says, is regarded as the, quote, Mount Everest of cinematic interpretation. Like, this is considered one of the most uninterpretable movies ever made. And I think after 110 episodes of reviewing films
We can do
like
it.
Twister, Bulletproof Monk, Leprechaun 2, I think we can unpack this shit. I think we can fucking solve it today. Like, I think we can do this. Us three can solve Persona. I think we can do it. That's kind of my end goal. I want to state that. And at the end, we will come to a conclusion of what this movie is.
Wow. I have a question.
100%.
I have a technical question.
Go ahead, please.
I mean, I rented this, so I don't know if it was probably like remastered ultra high definition. And I don't know how they do that technologically. But like back when cameras were just black and white, were they super fucking crispy?
Dude, yes.
Because like this fucking movie was crispy. I was like, I agree.
And a couple points during the movie, we were talking about how the hell did they do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's double exposures on actual film. There's extremely high ISO shots that are blown out. There's extremely low ISO shots that are like someone's face is right against a lamp and you can't, like, there's no light reflecting off their face. And there's a couple editing tricks that they appeared to do in camera that they must have not done. There must have been two separate shots that were just painstaking to act because they had to block them in exactly the same way, and they would edit them, like splice the two different film reels together to make it look like someone like teleported or changed into a different person. And that was, I think, really, really clever. And knowing that this was done in the 60s, I imagine that part of the acclaim comes from it being a big budget, relatively. I mean, let's be real, like kind of, not really big budget, but like AAA kind of production house making a movie like this and pumping everything they can into making these illusions seem real. And I agree that, especially the sound, it was only in stereo, but the sound dubbing on this movie was like so much better than if you watch a different movie, even from like the 80s or 90s that has sound dubbing.
We've watched some bad dubs, yeah.
It's terrible. And for a lot of it in this, I couldn't tell whether it was live or whether it was dubbed.
I mean, yeah, like a lot of it was well made, but I don't know, like there's parts where the film ripped apart and burned on camera. And then they even see the camera guy in one scene. So like that's kind of shoddily made. Was this your guys' first Bergman movie?
Yeah.
Is anyone?
Because, so when picking this movie, I didn't just pick it like completely blindly.
Yeah.
It was touted as the most analyzed of Bergman's movies. And I thought that would be interesting for us. Whoops.
Right.
But also, I was
crack it.
going between this and The Seventh Seal,
Yeah.
which I've heard referenced a lot.
Dude, The Seventh Seal, it's like the medieval thriller where like the Grim
It's kind
Reaper
of Bill
shows
and
up.
Ted.
The Grim Reaper looks like from fucking Bill and Ted. Like
Yeah,
he
it's
looks
kind
like
of,
him.
It's like Bill and Ted, but for Swedish people.
Yeah, and they're like talking. I think he challenges the Grim Reaper. Like that sounds badass.
Yeah, sorry.
But
I
no,
mean, sometimes you choose the wrong door.
Look, we haven't gotten to the reviews yet, so maybe some of us might have liked this movie. But yeah, like I haven't seen this shit. I mean, straight off the get, we talked about the beginning, man. Like, holy shit, talk about fucking dissonant. It was like, even the music was like, skimperm, scoopity boop, boop, boop. And it was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I feel like actually the intro was extremely like haunting. And it kind of made me worried about what the rest of the movie was going to be like. I thought it was actually going to be like pretty scary and like psychological thrillery. And I think that's kind of maybe it was to those people. I think maybe life was just different back then.
I thought I was going to get locked into 30, like an hour of just that montage. I was like,
It's literally like the scene in like Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory where he goes through the tunnel. And they're like, what if this was the whole movie? Where it's like, oh, the chicken eyeball, oh, fuck. And then and then it gets to the scene where it's like, it shows like the little boy in kind of like the morgue bed where he gets up. And at first I was like, oh, thank God. Like, here's like a scene where it's going to be kind of more like less unmoored.
Nope.
And then he starts like, I don't know, what the fuck is he doing? He's like reaching his hand out at like a picture of Miss Vogel. I was like, Jesus Christ. And then you get like a real scene. I'm like, okay, talking. Thank God. All right, I'm going to kind of like connect all these threads together. And it's interesting because this movie, it's like it's what I would imagine what German films are like. It's kind of similar, like Germanic. It's so sparse. There's like 3 ass actors in this movie. Every scene every like shot only has like one person in it. And like the nurse walks in and they're just like, hello, you're here to like help this person with a mental breakdown. Anyways, just go on and do it. It was just, it felt really sterile.
Me?
Like, yeah.
What do you want me to do? We have no idea. Good luck.
I also like how they were like, she's physically healthy, so obviously there's nothing wrong with her at all.
Yeah. And she's like, and we tested her for her mental competency, and she's fine mentally. She's just refusing to speak to anybody.
I thought I missed something. I thought they said she wasn't moving and then she wasn't speaking. And the very next scene, she's like in the chair, like,
yeah, she's like moving
writing
around,
letters
like,
to people,
watching TV. Yeah, like totally. Yeah, and it reminds me of when you read like old medical. I used to love reading like old medical texts of people who are like, it's harrowing because they have no concept of like mental health stuff. Even in the '60s, they're like, we kept electrocuting him and he was still sad. We have no idea.
We have no idea what's wrong with this guy. We hit him with the Zapper 9000.
And they're like, we tried putting the zapper on his head, and he actually was fine for like 1 minute. And we don't know. We tried doing it over and over, and he had died. So we tried it on a pig. And like, it's just like the wildest fucking shit. And you can see remnants of this in here, where they're just like, she's just clearly an asshole. That's just what the thing is. There's nothing wrong with her. It's impossible for a brain to be unwell.
I also thought that it was bold of them. At least of the doctor in charge, sending them to the countryside, the sea cottage.
That was cool.
It was bold of them to assume that like bisexuality doesn't exist.
Well,
hey, look at me. Look at me. Don't fuck the patient, okay?
Yeah, right? There was never a concept like, hey, look, you're gonna go sit in a sea cottage with this woman.
Yeah. Right.
For like 3 months. And it's gonna be romantic as fuck.
Take your swimsuit.
Okay? Romantic.
There's gonna be drugs. There's going to be thin nightgowns. The air is going to come in like that scene on Risky Business.
Yeah, and you put any 2 people in there, they're going to fall in love. Like, like that's going to be, it's going to be any 2 people.
It's like, their experiment for how they used to do that. But like, it was really bold of them. And I'm seeing now that maybe other movies have been inspired by this movie.
Totally, yeah.
And it's difficult to kind of think like, it's like the Seinfeld problem, the conundrum, where like you watch a different sitcom and you're like, oh, I get it. All the threads are coming together at the end. Yeah, okay.
Is that why this movie wasn't funny? Would it have been funny?
It was a Seinfeld episode?
And there's so many things that this movie, you're like, oh, that reminds me of something else. And
yeah, I mean,
this movie had to break the ground, I guess, in some ways. And it definitely deserves credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, it was super queer coded. We were talking about it. And like, I mean, still, we're like in an era right now of like bi erasure still. And so in the 60s, almost certainly they were like, there's no fucking way, you know? But like during that beginning part, I was already starting to make predictions. I don't know if you guys were in that same headspace where I was like, is this going to be like a split personality situation? Like,
yeah,
pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
Like, was it this, right? Yeah, like, is it the same person?
Yeah.
Or,
yeah, like, and not to be like another straight guy invoking these 2 examples, but Fight Club, it did this in their movie, and then Call of Duty Black Ops was the other famous example. Not to invoke Call of Duty Black Ops in persona, but yes, remember at the end of Black Ops where he's Victor Reznov?
Okay.
He got brainwashed by a Soviet agent.
We're not bringing Call of Duty into a 3 straight guy podcast.
It was a brilliant twist in Call of Duty Black Ops.
We also just spoiled it.
Victor Reznov. It's a fucking 20-year-old game. I swear to God.
Can I go a little bit more high class?
Fight Club.
You haven't seen Fight Club?
No.
Well,
spoilers. Don't.
No, you don't know. You don't know. I didn't say anything about Fight Club. I said, is it like Fight Club? In Fight Club.
Can I go a little bit more high class?
Okay, please.
The two movies that I think this reminds me of.
Oh, please.
Are Eyes Wide Shut by Stanley Kubrick. And especially there's one particular scene where Nicole Kidman describes in quite graphic detail a man she would like to have sex with in a bedroom in like a nightgown to her husband. Ooh. And it's very like there's a lot of sexual tension. And it reminded me a lot of this movie. And then the movie Portrait of a Lady on Fire is one of my favorite movies. And it's about 2 women who go and live in a sea cottage.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
And I would recommend, so to listeners out there the 3 people who've clicked on this movie about 3 straight guys watching this Swedish art house surrealist horror, the 2 modern movies I would say that maybe are taking this idea and rolling it into what we would now view as a piece of entertainment would be Eyes Wide Shut and Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
I will say, Call of Duty Black Ops is a great plot.
Stop.
If you guys want to play through it.
It's a funny bit, Denali, but you need to stop talking about Call of Duty.
Even though you know the spoilers. Okay, yeah, but see the Ryan's movies. I'll extend that olive branch. Those are on my list too. We get to the cottage part, right? Where they're all like, where the 2 of them are like connecting and shit. This is honestly where I was like, oh, it's kind of connecting for me because they're both talking about shit that I think's pretty fucking relatable. Where they're like, oh, I have my whole life laid out for me. I don't know if I fit in with this shit. I don't know if I want to just stick with the same job and career. And they're also like watching really fucked up shit on TV and reading about it and looking at photos of it. I was super into that part, and then it kind of like in the last 20 minutes, I was like, oh no, I'm getting unmoored again. I'm out to sea and I have no rope, and I'm like, wait, what was all that stuff before, and how does it play into what the fuck is happening right here? They space odyssey'd me.
There was something about the medium and the Swedish language and the subtitles that is so drastically different from media in English. Or like base level media, like we're watching a Korean cooking challenge show right now on Netflix. That like those ideas are so simple and easy to understand and digest that while I'm watching this movie and reading the subtitles for these very deep ideas, I'm just like, my brain's like a fucking blender. It's like untethered to the bounds my husband in this relationship in the years gone past. And I was just like,
It helps it's in another language too, because I feel like some of these lines, if it was in English and they were saying
it would be too poetic.
It wouldn't hit. There's even a straight up scene where like Alma's talking to the mirror and she's like, boy, am I discontented with my life. I am conflicted about my plate. And she's like, putting on lotion and just talking to the camera. And I'm like, boy, isn't that a convenient plot device?
They also did the same scene twice, but with the camera facing a different direction.
That was cool, dude. I liked that.
The first time I was like, no, Jay, it's because the first time I was like, what the fuck is going on? And the second time I was like, oh.
I thought my HBO was broken. I was like, God damn it.
You accidentally hit the other camera button.
I started fast forwarding. I thought I'd shrug it backwards. And I was like, no, I don't want to watch this scene again.
It's also wait, 6 minutes long.
It was like that stupid like Kanye West release where he like released his album on a device where like if you pressed a button you would only hear that one instrument. And it's like if you watched this movie, you pressed a button and you would just see the same scene just from a different character's perspective. And I was like, why'd they do this? But I mean, it all ties into the theme, right?
I mean, if I want to cut a serious tone for a second.
Okay, just for a second.
And I think that cutting serious tones allows us to then find funny things to think about.
I'm going to hold my breath.
No.
And then I will not breathe until the funny thing happens.
Denali and I are going to face meld.
Stop, because I have a couple notes.
Okay.
Like, the idea that this is a movie they wanted to show you. This is back when like moving pictures was like still pretty novel, right?
Motion pictures.
They were like, we're going to get a bunch of technology and film and everything, and we're going to project like an image a bunch of times. And a lot of early movies are like just random ass ideas to show on camera, right? Like people like teleporting. Oh, look, it looks like I'm teleporting, but it's just edited. And people in the movie theaters are like, "Wah!" Like a train coming at the screen. People were like jumping out of their seats when that was first shown.
I love that description of people shitting their pants. like it's real.
And to see that come to now in the 60s, to have this person who's apparently like a really adept filmmaker just show talking heads. Like that is a really interesting choice. And from the rest of the movie, the shots where they're not just talking heads, I can tell he's very, very good at what he does. And so I think that made me care more about how the shots that were just ahead were made and like given to me. And I was starting to contrast them in my brain to movies that I don't think do that very well. Movies today that take for granted the visual form. Like comedies from the 90s and 2000s that are essentially just talking head comedies. You have a character here, you have a character there, and they're just saying funny one-liners or improv. And yeah, there's a plot, kind of. But those are like, you might as well sit 4 people on bar stools and give them the script and it would be just as funny. Here, it's a reverse of that. And I thought that was fairly interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's just dialogue, but then there's a fuckload of negative space that informs that dialogue too. Because you're sitting there, and there's like a scene where she's just like sweeping up glass. There's a scene where they're just sitting there across from a table, not really saying anything, and there's a lot of weird pauses, and they're just kind of staring at each other. And that does like a lot of shit, a lot of communication. Even though they're doing a lot of tell in this movie, like I'm talking about Alma talking into the camera, literally about how her inner turmoil, but they're also doing a lot of showing too with that dialogue. Like you're right, like it's not like a fucking sitcom where you're just going off of literally just what they're saying. There's a lot of depth in what they're doing. And they may not be using like the tricks from like those special effects shit, but they are doing some kind of trickery. Like even just putting those long shots in, they're doing something to your mind and creating like this huge space. Cause like, I don't know about you guys, but I got a huge sense of space just from this movie. When they're on the beach and they're doing those long ass shots, like
that dolly,
I feel the fucking air.
That must have been on railroad tracks. Right?
Yeah, like I don't know.
That must have been how that side scroll shot. They must have put that on like a dolly on railroad tracks or something and just had it go. And then I was stuck thinking I wasn't really paying attention to what was happening because I was stuck like, how do they do that? Because that is the scene that made me realize it was dubbed because you couldn't see the boom and there's no such thing as wireless mics back in that day.
Oh.
And so I was like, it's dubbed. But when they're farther away from the camera, it's quieter. And when they're close to the camera, it's louder. Oh, so they're like manually modulating the volume of the dub for how far the character looks to be from the camera at any given time. And this is a single shot. This is a shot that lasts a couple minutes. And so the actors are moving around in the space and the volume of their voice changes, but it's dubbed. And that was like the moment where I was like, oh, there's a lot of care that went into this movie.
Yeah, the Bergman's got hands like that. He put a lot of fucking work into this. It's one of the best dubs I think I've seen just because I didn't notice it. Like,
yeah, I completely agree.
I watched this on my iPad, so
that's the way Chris Nolan would have want you to watch. Any
comments
film.
About audio quality from this
Was
third.
Why'd they dub it in Swedish again? All right, why not pick a easier language?
Was there any like one particular scene in this movie or like even shot or moment in this movie that made your stomach drop out of like fear? Because there was for me.
Yeah.
The glass
the boiling water.
Yeah.
Where she picks it up and is like about to throw it.
She's about to throw boiling water onto this woman just to make her speak.
Yeah. And like interesting that the preservation of self is like the one time that they choose artistically to break that moment. Like in the defense of self, like, no, don't.
Yeah.
When your literally whole life could just be upended by some really fucking hot boiling water.
It was really gruesome.
That was like
I thought she was going to do it. I thought it was like, oh, this is going to be the moment. She's going to kill her, and it's going to be terrible, and she's going to have to cover it up and then pretend to be her. That's what I thought it was going to happen.
Oh, shit, yeah. I mean, this is one of the contradictions for my theory that they're the same person, where it's like, she has that moment where she's like, oh no, please don't throw it. Because otherwise I'm just imagining this person with a boiling water by themselves about to throw boiling water on themselves. And then they're like talking about I guess that'd be, the delusion would be difficult to maintain in a situation like that, like kind of a Tyler Durden style.
Yeah. The other scene. So she speaks twice, right? And she, at one point, the Alma gets drunk. The nurse gets drunk and almost passes out at the kitchen table. And the patient, who's silent, says, like, don't fall asleep at the table. Go to bed. And
then she repeats it. Like,
yeah,
Alma
and she's
repeats
like,
it as if she said it.
I should not go. I fall asleep here. I should go to bed. And then, they had this really awesome scene in the bedroom. And they're just like, she's like standing like a ghost.
That's my favorite scene because the dress like perfectly matches the background.
I literally exclaimed, "Oh shit!" when I realized that she was standing there.
That one actually was my stomach drop moment because like when it looks so tranquil and then you just see a figure appear just in the background, like gradually appearing. That's like a night terror I have regularly of a figure just appearing and approaching my bed.
Yeah, I have no idea how they did it. And I find it a lot different to movies that do kind of on camera, off camera in other ways. Like The Strangers has an amazing on camera, off camera jump scare.
Fuck. Yeah, Jesus
where
Christ.
the camera pans and reveals that there's a guy like standing against the wall in a different room. This was that, but the camera was in the same spot the whole time, and it just revealed that the person was standing there. I don't know how they did it. And then it was super eerie on a character like psychological thriller level too, because she walked up to the bed, and then walked out a different door. And then the person woke up, and she came back in that second door like she wasn't coming from a different direction. It was like so weird. I was like, why would you care about her not knowing that? Is there like
There's a lot of just really like weird stuff, like the silent woman sleeping and the nurse like being on her face like, you're kind of ugly right now. And then like walking away, and the woman she like wakes up like,
what the fuck was that all?
Yeah, they're like fucking with each other in a weird way. There was that's in that same scene where
one person was fucking with the. It's like, you're here to treat her because she's silent, and then she's like, I'm going fucking crazy. She doesn't say something. I want to lose my mind.
This, folks, silent treatment always works. It will always let you win any conflict. But in that scene where like she's looking like a ghost, she approaches the bed. They kind of like embrace each other and caress each other, but in a way that's like almost mischievous. Like it looks like they're both facing the camera, and it looks like they're in on something. Like
they're
it's
like
not
taking
just like,
almost like taking her hair and putting it over, or no, Elizabeth is taking her hair and putting it over Alma's head. Alma has short hair, and so like, and earlier in that night she confessed to thinking that she looked like her because she's an actress. So like Alma's like, oh, this is a famous person I look like, and that I was like, Are they in on it? And that was the moment where I kind of started to understand the plot and understand the idea that Alma is faking it. And it's only revealed later in dialogue that or not Alma. God, I'm so sorry. That Elizabeth is like in on it and she's faking. And I only began to understand, I think, what the movie's getting at. And I'm pretty sure I'm wrong, but sometimes you just gotta guess. Yeah. That like Alma went on a speech and was essentially guessing at what Elizabeth's life was like. And this is the speech that was doubled, that we saw twice from one camera angle and the other camera angle. And the first time we heard the speech, Alma was essentially saying like, here's what your childbirth was like. Here's why you hate your life. And it was focused on Elizabeth, who Alma was talking about. And I was like, oh, Alma's just making this shit up. She's just like, your life sucks. You thought you were going to be a fancy actor, but it really sucks. And so you came here and tried to get away.
Yeah.
And then when it switched and was focusing on Alma, the person who's speaking, I felt the exact opposite. I was like, oh, she's actually like really into this. And she knows this person pretty well by now. And I think she's onto something. It's like one of those medium things.
Yeah, or like I even thought she might be projecting her own experiences on Elizabeth, or talking to herself, like talking to like her inner self about a guilt that she has, because like I like the idea of Elizabeth as a manifestation of her ideal self, of like someone who's like, this glamorous actress that she admires. And because she was even like, oh, if you know, I would love to look like you, but if you try to look like me, your charisma is so big, you know, it wouldn't fit in the space. I'm so small, I'm so flawed and shit. It was almost like it was two mirrors facing each other, where she knew so much about it. I mean, I think your theory could, you know, fit into that too, where it's like they're telling the truth, you know, when she says that to her. You know,
maybe also like Alma is saying, self-rationalizing her choice to have an abortion and saying like, if I didn't have an abortion, my life would look like yours, and you hate your life.
Yeah.
So I did the right thing. I'm not a bad person.
Oh fuck yeah! I didn't even think about that.
Damn.
Because yeah, abortion's like a big. We're
having
in this
breakthrough
movie, yeah.
now. Mm-hmm. I was really surprised that they used the A word.
Abortion.
Yeah.
I guess it was way more stigmatized.
Yeah, I thought that was maybe even something that. I guess, I don't know. I thought maybe it didn't even come into the lexicon until the 90s or so.
Yeah, and I also honestly don't know like what's like how conservative Sweden is about that subjects like that, subjects like sexuality and even just like, you know, an abortion. Like, do people openly, you know, is it just as conservative as it is in the U.S.? But like, there's a lot of contradicting things in this movie where you're just not really sure. Are they separate people? Are they the same fucking person? That scene with the husband, I was like, is that a dream? What the fuck is happening?
What?
Like, I was like, Jesus Christ!
He's
like,
calling her. Oh no!
Yeah, and then she's like guiding Alma's hand to the husband. Yeah. I was like, whoa, wait.
Is Alma Elizabeth?
Yeah, and I thought this was like part of the way through. Sorry to invoke Shutter Island, Ryan. It's a traumatic spoiler that you went through with our friend group. We spoiled it for him years ago.
I was about to say, I was like, yeah. That's one.
There was a Shutter. Yeah, like there was a moment where you're almost like, oh, is Alma the patient or something? Or like.
Yes, exactly.
Because you get Elizabeth, she writes this letter, which I think is kind of like a doofus move, where she like
says everything in the letter. Oh my god,
in unsealed. Like she's like, oh yeah, here, drop it off, and Alma's like, I'm gonna fucking read this. Of course I'm gonna read this.
Don't read the. A second note that written on the note says, "Don't read this letter.
Please don't read
It's super important."
And the note was pretty much like, laugh my ass off. Alma told me all this tea, and I'm going to tell you about it. Like, it's so funny to me to hear, like, it was just kind of like a very cruel thing to write. And, like, they're about, you know, I know the actors are, like, about the same age. So it's like, they had such a bond where they seem like she said, like, sisters. They're, like, really best friends. They confided in or one of them confided in the other. And you feel Alma's betrayal because immediately after that, you know, she makes her step on glass. She didn't say anything. Yeah. She's being very cold and, you know, feeling like she can't trust her and shit.
Damn, maybe I did like this movie.
I honestly did like this movie.
Now that we're talking about it, I mean, I rated it pretty high on Letterboxd because I think it was like extremely, extremely well done. I just don't know how much I liked it. Mm-hmm. But like, the more we're talking about it, how often is it that we walk into a movie like Bulletproof Monk and we're like, yeah, Dr. McBadassatron, he was like misunderstood, man. He was living his extra life with the Bulletproof Monk. And they had the pipe battle, and the pipe battle was an analogy for the man.
I like how you picked Mr. Bulletproofatron versus the actual name of Mr. Fuckadelic in the movie. That was right there for you to grab. Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm trying not to like get too into like all of the elements, like, because there's a lot of elements I did really like. I took a fuckload of notes in here about like, because I think there's a lot going on here. I think, you know, even just like politically talking about like what's happening in this, like where this thing fucking came out too. But like I tried not to look shit up online. I wanted to kind of come in here with the pure head. But there was one note where it said this movie talks about vampirism. There's a lot of vampirism references in the movie. There's a scene. There's a lot of vampires that show up, you know, like scenes of vampires. There was like a jump scare of one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then Elizabeth like bites.
Sucks the blood.
Yeah, her wrist. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? And like hits her. And then it like never talked about again. And I was like, did you guys? What the fuck? Like, what's the vampire angle?
Missed that. I don't know.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
They went out in the daylight multiple times.
They're not fucking vampires.
They're not vampires. I don't... End of story. Next.
And I feel like vampires would be doing it.
Yeah.
I mean,
vampires are horny.
And because I think when you live forever and you're immortal, I think like your kind of qualms about like sex is kind of just like thrown out the window.
Well, yeah, I think like I mean, in the vampire genre, dude, it's like extremely sexual. Like some of the most smuttiest fiction stories ever written are like vampire stories, dude. Like
Blade
Interview
3?
with the Vampires blowing the fuck up right now. Yeah. And I think maybe the vampire angle could be something to do with, like you said, like the sexual liberation aspect of this movie. Like, it's like two people who are kind of like, confiding in each other and literally admitting things. And I'm like, okay, so maybe that could be the angle.
Oh, like it's like a vampire, but not. It's like a vampire, but emotions instead of blood? Man, I don't know. This discussion has actually gotten more interesting than I expected it to.
I think he just found a bunch of clips he thought were funny, and he was like, I'm going to make a movie about two dames that hate each other, but one of them doesn't talk.
Maybe it's
and everyone was like, oh my God, it was so good. He was like, it was supposed to be funny. What are you guys?
Maybe it's like Big Brother. And he just put a bunch of cameras around the house behind the mirrors, like one-way mirrors. And then he paid Elizabeth to like $100 to not talk.
Like, this is gonna be the funniest. Like, they don't even have reality TV back then.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're just gonna film this person doing this, and then oh shit, it's only like 60 minutes long. What do we got laying around? What kind of B-reel? Oh, we got vampire shit. I got this 30-second clip of this goat's head being cut off. What do you think about me putting that
right at the beginning?
Right at the beginning?
Right at the
this,
dude,
right at we said it at the same time. Right at the beginning of this movie. Let's put it in. And then, okay, like, we don't have anything for the end, so what if we just when the film gets to the end and it just like rips off the reel, what if we just keep that in and then get like a video of the camera guy, and that'll be the movie, and that's what it is.
Do we have the director's this just somewhat harkens back to high school, and I mean doing a literature review.
Like, what's the answer?
And like what's the answer? What are they doing? And quite often in history, people are like, "Oh no, I just kind of wanted to tell a story that I thought of," and it's up to the audience to push that they're thematic elements that people resign.
I tried to look in the IMDb trivia, and for apparently one of the greatest, most storied movies ever made, there's like 3 pieces of trivia, and it's like, this person was in this movie.
Yeah. This man owned a monkey. Damn, all right. I feel like you talked about high school, Jace. Like, I think I mentioned this before. If our high school English teacher, Mrs. Brunner, like listened to our podcast of us actually critically analyzing all these like pieces of art, she'd be like, I fucking got you. All right, you refused for years, and you're here looking at fucking themes and motifs and shit.
Themes.
She like Mr. Miyagi'd us into making a podcast where we're looking at avant-garde Swedish films. Damn it, she got us. I mean, I think that's the movie, right? Like, I don't think like that's
they fight, they slap, they hit, they punch. There's blood.
Yeah,
there's that scene where it makes it
orgies in depth for about 6 minutes.
They do that.
Yeah,
we keep saying they. And when we say they, I'm realizing I mean they the movie, but again, only one person talked in this whole film.
Only.
Hey, isn't that funny? That's kind of a good catch, Jace.
Yeah. There's no dialogue.
That we keep using they, even though only the one person talks.
Elizabeth is just kind of sitting there, like nodding her head, like
Jace might have a point though. That they melded.
I mean, I could see it as literally someone doing a confessional to themselves, living in like exile. Literally her just talking through things that made her guilty. Like, she attended this orgy that she feels weird about because she kind of cheated on her husband and also had an abortion. And like she said that like really haunted her. Yeah. And it's like literally only spending time with someone who doesn't speak and is just listening. That's the only time she was ever able to just like come out and say it and like deal with that inner demon. So it's like I could see someone in isolation from like doctor's orders just sitting there and like literally working through all the shit that's been affecting
and
them.
Afterwards she's like, you're a good listener.
Yeah, it's like a person that doesn't talk. That
would make it even more rude. Like, Elizabeth doesn't talk, and she's just like, you're in the middle of this conversation, just letting your heart out. She gets up and walks away. And you're like, and so it really.
You go to the kitchen. I'll come with you. Yeah. I want to see like a regular Swedish thing now. Like, I want to see even like a Swedish reality show, just so I just know that they're into just shit that's like not like this all the time, because this is my only piece of Swedish media I've ever seen. And I know this, and I know Swedish fish and IKEA. And those 3 things are very stark, very Spartan-like, very efficient, and a little disturbing, all 3 of those. And I need to just see another side of Sweden so I can. And then Midsummer, the movie I had to tap out of halfway through because it was so stark and disturbing.
Good point. What's going on over there?
There's something going on.
Isn't that pole vaulter Swedish?
What pole vaulter? Is there like the guy with the penis guy?
No, the really good pole vaulter is Swedish, I think.
He's trying to get the fuck out of there. That's what it is. Do we got it?
Dukakis or whatever. Michael Dukakis.
Do we even want to do meters?
I don't know.
Swede meter?
Sweeter.
I could see this movie being in IKEA.
Yeah, they could show this in an IKEA. No meatball mention. No fucking Vikings.
I think it's a 10 out of 10 on the Swede meter. The Sweeter.
Huh. I was really confused about the warm enough weather in the swimsuits. So
isn't it like Alaska up there?
No, because the North Sea is very tame, and the Gulf Stream.
Oh, the old Gulf Stream carrying over those tropical winds. Well, yeah, I give it a 2 on the Swede meter.
What?
I didn't think it was very Swedish.
What?
Yeah, I didn't see any meatballs. I mean, they were.
I didn't see any meatballs.
I don't know.
There was 2 meatballs and a sausage. And we can do a brief movie meter. I mean,
yeah, I think it was. I mean, for a lot of people, this is a 10 out of 10. For a lot of people, it's a 9 out of 10. I don't know how much I enjoyed the movie. Would I recommend it to people? Absolutely not. Would I tell people I've seen it? Absolutely not. If you're at a party and someone starts talking about this movie, get away from that person because that conversation is not going to be interesting. They're not going to have anything else to talk about. They're going to be one of those guys. 8.
Can you imagine bringing up Persona at a party?
No.
Jesus Christ.
So I'd give it an 8. Though at my last Halloween party, someone brought a DVD Criterion copy of
Persona,
the movie House. It was a Japanese movie called House, and it's like this, but in Japan.
Oh, okay, cool.
And
cool.
We watched it. Completely killed the vibe of the party. So thanks, Ken.
This one would have started an orgy, but...
Dude, I think there's a lot of tension in this movie, and then it kind of goes away. Okay. I'll also give it an 8, Ryan, because I was actually connecting with a lot of shit in this movie. I mean, I think partially they're talking about a sense of detachment, malaise, and despair of living in this era.
They would have loved quarantine era.
Yeah, I think so, dude. And I think, this is the baby boomer generation / silent generation that's kind of in this movie, where they kind of saw apocalyptic shit. They saw World War II. They're seeing Vietnam happen. You're seeing the 6-Day War happen, the Cold War, the highly documented civil rights movement. It's obviously in the U.S., but just a lot of upheaval is happening culturally, socially, politically. And it's probably feels like a really unstable moment. And there's probably a lot of people in their 20s and 30s at that time, like these characters are, that are feeling kind of numb and weird about their placement. And, these are people who are living under the patriarchy, under heteronormativity. And these two are I don't know what I'm feeling, but this feels fucked up and not right. And I don't know if I want it, and they're trying to figure that shit out. And they don't even have the words to describe what they're talking about just because it all just feels fucked up. And, I think a lot of people connect with that shit right now. And then seeing that in the context of someone experiencing a personality crisis where they're maybe compartmentalizing different parts of themselves to kind of make, make sense of some shit. Or, I think that's really interesting. But yeah, dude, it was so dissonant that I don't know if I could watch this again, to be honest. I went on a journey. It was kind of like Space Odyssey where it's just a lot of vibes. I had to just kind of take it as it goes. But I agree. I don't know if I could recommend this because I don't know who the fuck would be yeah, this is my favorite movie. Maybe we should hang out. Maybe I can get something from you. Ken, you're welcome on the show. See us up for when we do Persona 2. You're welcome on the show.
I'm excited for Persona 4.
Persona 4 is my favorite.
When did they start racing? I want to know at what point.
I think it's so funny that we're not on the same. We're not in the same universe at all. When you said Persona was a racing game, I think Ryan and I were both like, "What?" I know, but we obviously had the idea in our head what video game you were gonna say, and
it was a different video game.
Very well known.
Yeah, like a JRPG, high school drum with spirits kind of video
style, yeah,
game.
It's extremely good. Dude, you'd actually vibe with Persona 4
You'd fuck with
hard.
Persona.
Oh, shit, I'll check it out. I'll Google Persona. While Jace, do you want to give your review?
I'm sitting at the 5 or 6 range. I think this is one of those movies that this is one of those movies. I don't even know what I was gonna say after that. I don't know what one of those movies
one of those movies. It is one of those movies, man.
It is a movie legally.
Very artistically well done. I think it was, you said dissonant, and I think talking about
sounds like Jace is dissonant.
Like the socio-political ideas, but the actual disjointed nature of the start of the movie, like the journey we see these two characters take, and then the end with the craziness. I think it was a really artsy take. I was very surprised at how good it looked and how much I liked some of the shots. But I think that's everything else escaped me, or I wasn't in the mood to care or like come prepared to do. I think doing an episode after we haven't been doing them for a while on a serious movie without like giving it the proper time is tough. This is a movie that I think you watch in college and you write an essay on and you come up with themes that you thought were in it, like duality, dualism, the mind meld. Why Dua Lipa was inspired by Persona 1967. So like I think like 6. I would if somebody like wanted to watch something crazy and artsy, I'd recommend it. But you know, this isn't like a Thursday after work kind of movie.
Can you imagine? It's funny when Ryan picked. I think Ryan was the first one who watched it out of the three of us. And I see your text like while I'm on the road, and I kind of see it show up on my Google Maps, just like as I'm driving. You know, it's like in the directions, and it just shows up and it says, "I'm so sorry, guys," and I'm like, "Oh no."
When you get that message, you know it's bad. You know you're like, "Oh shit."
I thought it was gonna be more like the there's a certain type of movie where like Michelle Pfeiffer and Harrison Ford are married and they're locked. They're like, they kind of spend time in the same house, and maybe he's having an affair and she's onto him. And so she's laying like clues and finding out how like far he'll go to lie to her. And at the end, like, is he going to stab her to death? No, she's drowning in a bathtub. And like, I thought it was going to be like that, but done in the 60s.
Star Wars? Yeah.
But yeah, Star Wars is what I was describing. And, but yeah, I agree. And I was about to actually kind of reference that. In law school, I've mentioned this a couple times, I took a class called Sci-Fi and the Law, and it was like a fuck around class where we went to this professor's house and just talked about sci-fi. And then we had assignments, right? Like books to read and movies to watch and stuff. But when we'd get there, people would be talking about all those like high art novels and like sci-fi with like their pinkies out and drinking like wine. And me and my friend Daryl would show up and we'd be like, dude, I'm so excited. I heard they're making Dune. And like, so one guy was like, I tried to bring up Dune into the conversation that we were having in like the roundtable discussion. And he's like, Dune's not sci-fi.
Oh, come on. It fucking is.
Yeah. And I was like, what? He's like, it's an epic. And I was like,
no.
What does that even mean?
And Daryl's like, yeah, but so's Star Wars. It's Star Wars sci-fi. He's like, Star Wars isn't sci-fi.
Okay, I don't think Star Wars is sci-fi.
Well,
I think it's fantasy.
Right, but like you can bring it into the conversation if someone brings it up.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's being pedantic.
Right, and so this is one of those movies that those other people would be like, that's not surreal drama thrillerism. This is, and they'd be like, have you seen Persona?
Okay, well, I think this is really fucking funny because this is the episode that broke the seal for us after a long drought and got us back into the...
Well, I mean, also, what happened in my personal life is that I watched a bunch of movies that were very bad. Like a terrible shark movie, like Divergent. And then I was like, we're going to watch Persona. Like, we're going to watch this art movie we're going to watch this really good movie. And it was just kind of like whiplash for me.
No, I was happy to watch this, dude. I am not blaming you because I wanted to see this too.
You guys go watch Dumb and Dumber, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. That was the last movie I watched.
Would I rather watch this movie or Dumb and Dumber again?
I've never seen Dumb and Dumber, and I think I'd watch this movie again.
You probably need to watch Dumb and Dumber just to know what the mental space I was in when I put this on.
I do know the GIF of the guy shitting into the toilet, and that does make me laugh every time I see it.
It's funnier in context because it's like such an original idea when they do it.
I'm shitting in a toilet. Okay, folks. Well, let us know what you think about Persona. Have you guys seen this?
Watch
thing?
it for free on
HBO?
double speed on YouTube.
Yeah, give it a shot. Give Persona a shot, guys. I think it's a good party movie. Watch it with a friend.
Parents,
then come back.
Grandparents, someone that you're newly romantic with.
Mm-hmm. Yes, those are great.
Not children.
Watching
I can't even
partners.
joke about that.
Yeah,
somebody who
not.
can't read. Watch the movie with somebody who can't read.
A Swede who can't read.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be fine. They could...
Somebody, fourth most used word in this movie, coming.
He's not wrong.
Are you joking? I actually don't know if you're joking or not.
I mean, they said coming a lot.
They said coming a lot. It was a lot.
I also didn't know. I thought that was like a modern turn of phrase.
I did too.
I learned that is like a ye olde coming.
Yeah.
So my grandma knows what coming means.
Right. I said
that's incredible.
I gotta change my sly jokes I told my cousins at the dinner table.
Yeah, she knew everything I was saying the whole time. So what other Swedish movie we're gonna watch next for a Swedish season?
Like, I actually think Seventh Seal would be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think.
You gotta trust me on this, guys. You know, I get one mulligan.
Yeah, yeah. That's our new rule. If the movie that we pick
ends up being a Swedish art house movie,
you could do a second Swedish.
You get to do a second Swedish movie about gambling with death.
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2.
Hey, you know what? I watched the first one not too long ago, and it was good.
Second one's pretty good too.
It's a good movie.
Oh, really?
It's a good movie.
It's Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs 2, the Paddington 2 of Swedish.
I heard it's rated lower.
Oh,
it's definitely
the first.
Lower than the first one. It's okay.
Okay. I think the next pick is for me. Should I just wait? Just pop it up on you guys? Let's do that. All right. Do you want to end with a piece of dialogue that's in this movie? Ryan, do you want to start? Jace is doing an impression of Elizabeth.
I
am
coming.
Ryan, please.
Perfect.
No, we can't. No, we can't be.
You shouldn't have given me
can't be the three guys ending this with "I am coming."
Everyone comes. Okay, Ryan. After coming, you say
another word.
To
the
electric
slide.
You're gonna say avenue, Ryan.
I thought it was gonna say boogaloo.
Oh, okay. All right. We went in 3 different directions, but that's our show, folks. I am coming to the electric slide. So you're listening to the song, and you're like, oh.